Okay, good morning, everyone. Yeah, happy new month and happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month 2024 in arrears. This is China Tuzuebu, Cybersecurity Consultant with Rostec Cyber-Crime Solutions Limited. This is, continuation, of what I discussed in my previous, in the introductory part of this series, practical approach to combating cybercrime. And this is my own way of, summarizing the Cybersecurity Awareness Month 2024, like our take home, recorded in piecemeal. These presentations were done in 2017, and I am recording now so that you can help me distribute and share, as much as you can, share with as many people as possible, share with your colleagues, share with organizations. Okay, today we are looking at overview of cybersecurity. Remember, in the introductory aspect, I told you we'll be covering in this series the overview of cybersecurity, identifying and classifying your information assets, protecting your information assets, determining the ideal security measure, combating cybercrimes. We will look at it from social engineering point of view, and we'll look at it from order and attack point of view. Social engineering, since over 60% of successful cyber-related attacks are social engineering inclined. So we will look at it in various ways. So in this series, I want to focus on overview of cybersecurity. Most of us, we don't really understand what cybersecurity is all about. You keep hearing cybersecurity. In fact, cybersecurity, I started hearing about cybersecurity in that was about 2015. Yeah, 2015. Even after my certification as Certified Information System Security Professional. Then it was information security all over. Every bit of it is seen as information security. And then until cybersecurity came on board to replace information security, or until cyber now came to replace information. Now, the essence of this is because, cyber is more like a generic name, more like a prefix coined out from the word cybernetics. And some working groups and some scientists realize that, the new world we are entering in is not about information, but is about the cybernetics. Now, what do we understand by cybernetics? Like I said, cyber is prefixed from the word cybernetics. Cybernetics is the study of science, study of medicine, study of biology, study of engineering, study of education, study of mobile devices like your laptop, like your phone, like your electronic devices like your phone, your mobile devices, like your laptop, like your desktop, like your printer, even your printer, every bit of your network infrastructure, your systems, every bit of all that you need, to establish a handshake, your Wi-Fi, your ISP, including the human resources around it, So this working group, we are now looking at the control, how can we establish a good control, around the cybernetic elements? How can we establish a good governance around the cybernetic elements? Cybernetics now became the umbrella, covering every bit. And the cybernetics is actually what, captured the future, which is the future of technology. And if you understand now, if you look at what is going on now, you find out that it is a digital world. It is the world where technology would keep evolving and evolving and evolving. Right from millennium, it is keep evolving and evolving and evolving. If you understand the days of the mainframe computers and all that. So now, how do we the journey, and the endeavors of this working group is still it's continuous. How do we maintain a good security around the cybernetic elements? And that is where the concept of cybersecurity came on board. And now, what do we understand by cybersecurity? The philosophy around cybersecurity is actually centered around CIA. So, if you are there, you just help me say CIA. We call it CIA triad. That is where the philosophy of cybersecurity kicked off. And what do we mean by CIA triad? Like, let me just explain this now. From the definition I'm going to give about cybersecurity, then you understand what CIA triad is all about. Cybersecurity is anything you do or the act or the process of, protecting or safeguarding your information assets. Now, very soon you understand what your information asset is. You understand what it's all about, your intangible assets, like your email, like your computer, like all these cybernetic elements I mentioned earlier. They are all centered around your information assets and the processes around it. Now, the act of protecting your information assets, from with a level of acceptable confidentiality, acceptable integrity, and acceptable availability. Or we can define it like this. Cybersecurity is the act of protecting and safeguarding your information assets. Some people will call it critical information assets, but I call it information assets because every asset, as I'm talking to you now, every of your information assets is critical. So it's an act of protecting and safeguarding your information assets, with protecting your information assets from, unauthorized disclosure, and that's what we are combating. We are combating unauthorized disclosures, to your confidential information and sensitive information. We're looking at the process of protecting your information assets from unauthorized modifications, unauthorized tampering. That is part of the threat we are combating here. And then we're looking at how we can protect your critical information assets, from being stolen, just like your password being stolen, just like your mobile device being stolen, and then being stolen and being destroyed by the bad guys, by the unauthorized guys. So we're going to look at it, and these whole areas we are looking at. If you've been paying attention, you understand confidentiality. I've mentioned confidentiality, and the opposite of confidentiality is like disclosure. We are fighting these bad guys, and trying to ensure that what is confidential remains confidential, and any form of any attempt to disclose, is a threat, and we need to combat that. And then we'll now look at the other side of the triangle is the integrity. Integrity is saying, we need to work against these bad guys, tampering with our data. For example, a particular time I deposited money into my account, and then someone went to tamper with it, an in-house person went to modify it, and then siphoned 28,000 out of it, tampering, you're tampering with data, and then at the end of the day, what we are seeing is inaccurate information, missing information, or errors everywhere. So we need to fight against those bad guys that are rendering our information, altered, tampering with our information and modifying our information without any form of authorization. And then we need to fight against the bad guys that are always destroying. That's why you go to the banking hall and then they will say no network. And of recent times, too many downtimes. Every now and then you go to the bank, no network. You go to MTN, no network. You go to even in your own Wi-Fi device is always shaking. Sometimes it's lagging, sometimes and those are the threats around availability. Those are what we are combating. Remember, the title of this particular presentation is Practical Approach to Combating Cybercrime. And that's why I said the journey of what we are talking about begins here. It starts with the CIA triad. We call it CIA. That C represents confidentiality, and that I represents integrity, and the A represents availability. So you can, put it in any direction. It could be AIC triad or ICA triad. All that matters there is the triangle, because at the end of the day, you cannot be fighting, for confidentiality, and then you leave integrity out of it. You cannot be fighting for integrity and confidentiality, then you leave availability out of it. The three of them work hand in hand. That's why it's like a triangle. That's why we call it a triad. Even if you want to put the integrity at the base, it does not matter wherever you place it. But the most important thing here, or the philosophy around it, is to make sure that you understand that this is our objective. And in recent times, our objectives are also the horizon is increasing. We're not just fighting against confidentiality. Again, we're not just fighting against the bad guys, threatening the confidentiality of our information assets, threatening the integrity of our information assets, threatening the availability of our information assets. We're also fighting against the bad guys, threatening our privacy, the privacy of our information, our personal privacy, our data privacy. We're also fighting against the bad guys, threatening our safety, our safety as individuals, our safety as the public. And then we're also fighting against the individuals, threatening our authenticity. They will use your ID, they will impersonate your ID and then use it to tamper with things or even destroy it or even steal it. So we're trying to, fight against them. Anything we can do to maintain a safe and secure cyber world, and anything we can do to maintain resilience, around our information assets and the, like I said, the initial, the objective of cyber security is to maintain, establish a good governance, establish a good control, and a lot of countries all over the world, they are on course, working around, standards, frameworks, guidelines, working around, all that we need, to establish good governance, especially at any time a new technology comes on board, anytime like the previous time it was cloud computing. If you go to the internet now, you see a lot of write-ups, a lot of frameworks around cloud computing. If you go to another place now, Internet of Things, too many of them are coming on board, and we have frameworks all over. The governing bodies, standard bodies, like National Institute of Standards and Technology, like ISO, they are all they are losing their sleep to make sure that, there is enough governance around every new technology that comes on board. So now we're focusing on the CIA triad. Like I said, it could be in any direction, and and the concept around CIA triad, is to promote a multi-layered security. We call it defense in depth. So the essence of my company is like an umbrella. If you understand the concept of an umbrella would cover up. An umbrella has a handle, you hold. There must be an effort you make, to stay protected, to keep holding the umbrella so that you get protected from rain, from any kind of attack, from any storm, that is coming on board. So that umbrella, the coverage aspect of the umbrella is seen as the CIA. That's how I start it. That is the cover. That is the confidentiality we're looking for, the protection we need. That is the integrity. That is, and then for you to maintain that confidentiality and the integrity and availability around it, you must keep holding the umbrella. If you drop it, it will fall down. You must keep holding the hold, the hold of the umbrella. And all that we need to put in place to keep the umbrella to keep holding the umbrella is all that we're going to cover. And most of the ingredients that you need to keep holding the umbrella, they are centered around the stem, the stick or the stem, if you understand what I'm saying, or the knob, and underneath that knob we have layers, and immediately after that CIA triad, like I'm trying to explain the concept of the multi-layered security or defense index. So we now have another layer, which is the control type, which is the administrative control type. Like every business is categorized into three. You have the administrative part of every business, you have the physical type of every part of every business, and you have the technical part of every business. So we're going to look at all that. So the concept of CIA triad is looking at multi-layered security. And then it is more like a framework that covers security policies, like I said before, the controls, the safeguards, the countermeasures, the threat vectors, everything is embedded because that is our aim. That is all that we are trying to achieve. So now, when we talk about confidentiality, like is looking at, secret, sensitivity, the sensitivity level of your information assets. For example, your password is supposed to be confidential. You don't need to share it with anybody. Then your documents on the computer. If you don't want anybody to have access to it or to read it, you apply what we call the concept of encryption, or you apply the concept of secrecy. You try to keep it secret, You try to make it sensitive in such a way that, nobody could easily have access to it. So it is the act of ensuring that, your critical information assets are not disclosed. The opposite of confidentiality is called disclosure, And then any attack, against, a reasonable level of secrecy is enforced, at each point of data processing. At any point in time, you enforce it. You don't just rely on, or for example, you do your job now, and then you don't even log on to your computer, you log on to your computer, and you don't even have passwords that you're using, as in that you need. In most cases, people will just log on without their password, and then they are working, and at the middle of things, they can't even lock up the screen. You don't even have passwords to log in, talk less of locking up your screen lock. So we need to discuss all that, and then we need to discuss attacks against confidentiality. Attacks against confidentiality include shoulder stuffing. For example, you are on your computer, you are trying to encrypt your password, and someone is peeping ahead of your shoulder, without your knowledge. So you need to understand how you can be cautious of what goes on around you and be careful on how you do your things. Then we have password theft, people stealing your password, and then you have people monitoring what you're doing. Spying is another thing. People are using the GPS tools. They are now spying on your closet, spying on every bit of what you do. Not even inside computer now, they are just spying on you physically. And as they spy on you, they spy on every bit of what you do. And then we have social engineering attacks when people are using, less technical means to get you tracked down. And then we talk about encryption and all that. So we look at integrity. Integrity is saying we're going to discuss all that, the mechanisms you need, to combat people threatening your confidentiality. So integrity has to do with, ensuring that your personal information assets are protected from unauthorized modification. So we talk about integrity in various ways. Some people could, authorized people, just like I told you now, the banker that modified my deposit was an IT person in a bank. in fact, a security person, an information security person. She was an authorized professional, but tampering, modifying and doing what is not authorized, because it's not authorized for even the authorized person to go and modify a customer's deposit. So those are the kind of things we are safeguarding. You safeguarding your information assets from being tampered by the authorized people, and then being tampered with by unauthorized people, and then being tampered with, and then maintaining internal and external consistency. You make sure that, you're sending a report, that report, anywhere you go, that is the same report people are seeing. Not like people are seeing a different report. Sometimes, your bank will send you a statement, then the bad guys will now go back to your bank email and then modify the bank statement. So what your bank sends is different from what you actually saw in your email, So that is inconsistency. And those are the kind of things that, issues of integrity is trying to fight against. And we have various ways we can, safeguard and protect our information assets from being modified by authorized guys, from being unduly modified by authorized guys, from being unduly modified by unauthorized guys, and then ensuring that we maintain internal and external consistency. There's a level of accuracy, a level of consistency in every bit of what we do. So attacks against integrity include alteration of data at rest and then data in transit. Data at rest is the data you store in your hard drive, data you store in the data that is stored in your storage device. And then you need to understand how you can maintain it, how you can protect it, so that bad guys will not, alter what you have there or make away with all the information you have there. And then we also talk about the data in transit. We have data in various states, in data at rest, data in use, and data in transit. When your data is being sent, when you are transmitting your data, it is not hijacked by the bad guys, and the bad guys are not intercepting your information and modifying them, unduly. So we need to discuss all that. Then the integrity, the controls around the integrity include, hashing, checksum like your website. You can always use a checksum tool, integrity tool, to confirm that your website is running well, your website is good to go and is not being tampered with. And then you have your separation of duties. You make sure that not everybody that can author, not everybody can write into your file, and not everybody, you have those that can write and those that can read and those that can authorize. So we look at acceptable use policy, like employees. For example, that person that tampered with my deposits in the bank, if she was operating with, acceptable use policy, and she endorsed something like that, I'm not sure she would be able to have that kind of boldness and guts to go modifying customers' deposits. It is a heavy crime. Okay, now that's about integrity. And too many issues of integrity are facing us every day. And that is why you must keep your email address secured. You must make sure that you have a good password around your email. And if it's possible, we'll be discussing multi-factor authentication by the time we actually have moved it. Let's just keep flowing like this and keep going. By the time we get to those attacks, then we will discuss. But understand this. You really need to understand this concept, as we're going, so that we will flow together and we'll all be at the same place. Now, availability has to do with, ensuring that your critical information assets are accessible to authorized parties and when required. Not just, you want them to be accessible to the authorized person. Then you want them to be accessible at the time they need it, they require it. You know, you go to the bank, you want your information, you want the network to be up and running. You don't like all the unnecessary delays in the bank because network is down. You know, so this is what availability is all about. You want to go to your email and you don't need your Wi-Fi or internet service provider to tell you, oh, to start branching. You know, you want to get it at and when required. Not that it's only off when you don't really need it. You know, when it has been overtaken by events. So the information assets include hardware, your data, your physical assets, your software applications, your web browsers, the applications, your network infrastructure, all the processes around them. You know, they are your assets that must be available at any point in time and that you need at any point in time. Then we talk about the attacks against availability. The attacks are theft, denial of service, like you go to the bank, when you are not getting the information you need at any point in time, you are being denied of your service. Then denial of service is also, you have in a way where you have a group of computers, aiming at, denial. We call it distributed denial of service attack. And then we talk about malware, we talk about slow performance of resources, low capacity, low bandwidth, and others. Then we talk about the availability controls. You know, the controls around availability are, redundancy. You try to replicate your devices. Like now, you have your you have your laptop, and if your hard drive crashes, you have your backup device, to use and recover. If anything goes wrong with a particular device, you quickly swap it. In organizations, we call it redundancy, availability, backup devices. Most times they go in form of off-site devices, mirrored devices, clustered active devices. So you make sure that you put all that in place, and then you make sure that your communication and transmissions are available, and then you make sure you apply intrusion prevention systems, all those things. It could be virus that is dragging your system, preventing your system from running. So you install antivirus, you employ intrusion detection and prevention system, you employ data loss prevention system, data loss protection system. So too many controls around it. Then you talk about restoration, recovery of data, services, business continuity services, and all that. They are all controls around availability. Now, in this section, we've just covered the concept of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. I want to summarize it like this. If you really want to understand what we are talking about, you must first of all understand the concept of the CIA triad, starting from what cyber is, what cybersecurity is, which we've discussed now, and then you must drive the concept, from top management level. So it is not a concept that you have to drive from the bottom line or from the operational line. It has to be strategic, and it has to be driven from the owner of the business, from the managing director, or the board members of the organization. So they have to be driven from the top if you want to ascertain a level of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And if you are driving them from the top, you need to build the security blueprints, the policies, the standards, inculcated into the governance of the organization. Because what we are discussing now must align with your business needs, your business goals, your business objectives. So that's why it has to be driven from the top. And when it's driven from the top, it can be easily circulated. It can be easily, as in other groups, it can be easily circulated across the entire organization, the divisions of the organization, the departments of the organization. So you try, when you are ensure that it's driven from the top, then you, from the top too, you identify and apply your critical information assets. You must identify them, you must apply them. It's very, very important. You must understand the assets you are protecting, and the value. You must place value on those assets. That's when at the point of classification, you must classify each asset based on the value and impact on the assets, on the bottom line of the business. What value is asset giving to the business? What are you deriving? What value are you deriving from that asset? On monthly basis, on daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, annually. That determines the value or the classification you tie to the asset. Then you must evaluate the assets, leveraging on the concept of risk analysis or risk management. You must understand the threats, the vulnerabilities, and the impact, of the vulnerabilities around your assets. And then you must respond to the risks. You must treat the risks, by ensuring the IT controls, the countermeasures, and safeguards are implemented and configured around the assets. And then you must think layered security, multi-layer security on defense index, when implementing the controls to ensure that the entity does not rely only on one safeguard in cases of in case a particular safeguard fails. If one security measure fails, then you have other security measures to protect. For example, you only have password on your computer, and then your computer, you didn't think of protecting your files or passwording your files or encrypting your files, and then by the time your password is made away with, the bad guys are now having a seamless access to everything you have in your system. So leveraging on multi-layered security is the ideal approach. So we now talk about the countermeasures and safeguards, and you have to build your countermeasures and safeguards as an acceptable level of confidentiality, integrity, availability around your information assets. And then you must regularly review. You must keep reviewing, and ensure that you are on top of the bad guys and you are on top of the game. And that is where you have your routine jobs, everyday monitoring, you have your logs and all that. Now, this is where we'll end in this session. I hope you've been able to grab something. If you can't grab anything from here, I hope you grab the concept of the cyber, the concept of the cybernetics, the concept of cybersecurity, and then the philosophy of the CIA triad. This is actually the aim of this session. So, see you in the next session. Thank you and stay secured. Bye for now. Cheers.